The morning sky over New Haven Colony burned red and gold as two suns rose above the eastern mountains. Director Greg stood at his office window and watched colonists begin their day. Children walked to school. Farmers drove tractors toward the fields. The streets filled with people heading to work. 50,000 humans called this world home now. Greg smiled. 5 years of hard work had built something beautiful here. The alert came at 9:47 local time. Every screen in the colony lit up with the same message. Warships had entered orbit. Greg's smile died. He ran to the communications center. "This is the Empire fleet," a translated voice said through the speakers. "This world now belongs to the Empire. Under the Galactic Convention of Warfare, all hostile forces have 1 standard hour to evacuate civilians to safe zones. After this time, we will claim this territory by force." Greg grabbed the microphone. His hands shook. "This is Colony Director Greg. We are not hostile forces. We are civilians, families, children. We request peaceful negotiation." "Your request is noted," the commander replied. "The convention allows 1 hour for evacuation. This is our legal obligation. The clock begins now." The channel closed. Greg stared at the countdown on the screen. 60 minutes. He knew immediately that it was not enough time. New Haven had 50,000 people spread across 3 cities and dozens of farming communities. The evacuation shelters were 40 miles from the main population centers. Even with every vehicle running at once, they could not move everyone in an hour. He activated the colony-wide emergency system. "All residents, this is Director. Begin immediate evacuation to designated safe shelters. This is not a drill. Take only what you can carry. Move quickly." The colony erupted into chaos. Parents ran to schools to grab their children. Vehicles jammed every road. People screamed and pushed. Greg coordinated from the command center, watching screens showing the panic. The shelter convoys moved as fast as possible, but it was not fast enough. 30 minutes passed. Only 12,000 people had reached the shelters. Greg sent another message to the fleet. "We need more time. Our people cannot move this fast. Please, we are complying. We just need more time." "The convention specifies 1 standard hour," the commander said. His voice showed no emotion. "We are following proper procedure." 45 minutes gone, 20,000 evacuated. Greg felt sick. He sent message after message. He begged, he pleaded. The commander repeated the same words each time. The convention said 1 hour. They were following the rules. At 58 minutes, Greg stopped sending messages. He looked at the screens showing people still running toward vehicles, still trying to escape. Families with children, elderly people moving slowly, hospital patients being carried by nurses, 30,000 people who would not make it. The countdown reached 0. The orbital bombardment began exactly on time. Plasma bolts fell from the sky like rain. The first strike hit the central school. The building vanished in white fire. 300 children died instantly. The hospital exploded next. Then the residential districts, the farming communities, the industrial sector. Greg watched it all on the screens until the command center shook. The ceiling cracked. He had time to think one final thought before the next strike hit his building. They followed their rules. They followed every rule. The bombardment lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, 35,000 humans were dead. The fleet commander sent a standard report to the Galactic Council. He noted that proper procedure had been followed. 1 hour warning had been given. The convention had been honored in every detail. News of the massacre reached Earth 3 days later. The Galactic Council had already convened to review the incident. Ambassador Lisa stood before the assembled representatives of 200 species. She held a data pad containing evidence, video footage, casualty counts, medical records of the dead. 35,000 civilians, she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were hard. Children in schools, patients in hospitals, families trying to evacuate. They gave us 1 hour. Their hour, calculated for their biology. Humans move slower. We needed more time. Commander of the Empire stood across from her. He was tall and covered in scales that reflected the chamber lights. "We followed the convention exactly," he said. 1 standard hour for evacuation. We gave proper warning. We acted within our legal rights." The council chairman, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, studied the evidence. "The convention does specify 1 standard hour," he said slowly. "Commander is correct. The followed procedure." "Procedure that killed 35,000 people," Lisa said. Her hands gripped the podium. Procedure that did not account for human physiology. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for justice. The convention applies equally to all species, another council member said. This one looked like a massive insect. To change the rules for one species would undermine the entire system of civilized warfare. Then your system is broken, Lisa said. The chamber fell silent. No one spoke like that to the council. Commander made a sound like laughter. Perhaps humans should not colonize worlds they cannot properly defend, he said. The council debated for 6 hours. They examined every detail of the attack. They reviewed the convention rules. They discussed precedents. In the end, they reached a decision. The Empire had acted within the bounds of civilized warfare. No punishment would be issued. The council offered condolences to humanity for the tragedy, but explained that rules must be maintained. War had laws. Everyone must follow them. Lisa returned to her ship. She sent a coded message to Earth. 2 words, no justice. On Earth, the message reached military command at 3 a.m. General was already awake. He had been watching the council session through the live feed. The decision did not surprise him. He walked to the situation room where other commanders waited. The council sided with he told them. They say the massacre was legal. President Helen Martinez stood at the head of the table. She had not slept in days. Her face looked older than it had a week ago. Legal, she repeated. The word tasted wrong in her mouth. We cannot win a conventional war against Admiral Richard Cole said. He pulled up tactical displays. They have 3 times our fleet strength, superior weapons, faster ships. If we fight by the convention rules, we lose. Then we do not fight by their rules, Colonel Stephen Boyd said. Everyone turned to look at him. He was younger than most of the other commanders. He specialized in military history, ancient Earth history, wars before humanity reached the stars. Explain, the president said. The convention only works if everyone follows it, Stephen said. Humanity never signed the convention. We have no legal obligation to honor it, and it certainly did not protect our people. You are suggesting we abandon civilized warfare entirely, General said. I am suggesting we fight to win, Stephen said. Humans have fought wars for thousands of years. We know how to fight without rules. Guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, total war, methods that they would consider barbaric, methods that work. The room stayed quiet. President Martinez looked at each commander. She saw anger in their eyes, grief, determination. If we do this, the galaxy will call us monsters, she said. The galaxy watched 35,000 of our people burn, Stephen said, and called it legal. President Martinez made her decision. She had seen the footage from New Haven. She had read the names of the dead. She had spoken to the survivors who described children trying to run with legs too short to reach the shelters in time. She had listened to the commander explain that he followed proper procedure. No more, she said quietly. No more civilized battles. We fight on our terms now. If the convention will not protect us, we will protect ourselves. Prepare our forces for unrestricted warfare. Make the regret they ever touched New Haven. The orders went out that night. Earth's military began training for a new kind of war. A war without honor. 3 months passed since the New Haven massacre. Earth's military changed completely during that time. Colonel Stephen Boyd walked through the new training facility built deep under the Rocky Mountains. He watched soldiers practice tactics that would make the Galactic Council sick with horror. Again, Commander Gray shouted at a squad moving through a mock corridor. You are not fighting fair. You are fighting to survive. Hit them where they are weak. Run when they are strong. Make them afraid of shadows. The soldiers reset and ran the drill again. This time they used fake civilian signals to lure the enemy into an ambush. Stephen nodded approval. Good. They expect honorable combat. We will give them nightmares instead. Walked over to him. She carried a data pad showing their progress. 80% of our forces have completed unconventional warfare training, she said. We have developed new weapons that violate 16 different convention rules, and our stealth ships are ready. They will not know what hit them, Stephen said. While Earth prepared, the Empire celebrated their victory. Commander received honors for his successful operation at New Haven. The Emperor himself praised the clean execution of proper military procedure. Other species watched and understood the message. They were strong. They followed the rules. They won. Emboldened by success, the Empire looked toward more human colonies. They identified 3 worlds on the frontier, small settlements, lightly defended, easy targets. The Empire sent official warnings to Earth: surrender these colonies or face legal military action under the Convention. The Galactic Council received copies of the warnings. They expected humanity to either abandon the colonies or mount a defensive fleet. Some species placed bets on how long Earth would resist. Most gave humans 3 months before total surrender. A few sympathetic species offered to mediate peace talks. Earth's response surprised everyone. The 3 colonies began evacuation immediately, not rushed panic like New Haven, organized, systematic. Every human left those worlds over 2 weeks. Ships carried them away along with all valuable equipment. The watched with satisfaction. Humanity was learning its place. What they did not see was Captain Mason and his special operations team. They arrived at the colonies after the evacuations. They wore stealth suits that blocked sensors. They moved at night. They worked quickly. Plant the charges every 100 meters, told his team. Focus on the cities, the spaceports, anywhere their troops will gather. The devices they planted were fusion bombs, small but incredibly powerful. The team buried them under streets, inside buildings, hidden in infrastructure. 75 bombs per colony, 225 in total, each one powerful enough to level several city blocks. How long until they arrive? One soldier asked. 3 days, said. We need to be gone in 2. They finished with time to spare. The team extracted to their stealth ship and jumped to a safe distance. They waited. The fleets arrived right on schedule, 3 battle groups, 15 ships each. They scanned the colonies and found no resistance, no defense fleet, no ground forces, nothing. Commander led the main fleet. He sent landing parties to secure the colonies. Easy conquest, he told his officers. The humans run like prey animals. This is barely worth calling war. The troops landed in parade formations. They marched through empty streets. They raised their empire flags over government buildings. They sent reports of successful occupation. Everything followed proper procedure. The colonies now belonged to the... Captain Mason waited until all 3 colonies had troops on the ground. He waited until the ships settled into orbit. He waited until he received confirmation that every enemy soldier was in position. Then he sent the signal. The colonies exploded, all of them. Simultaneously, 225 fusion devices detonated in perfect coordination. The cities vanished in nuclear fire. The spaceports erupted. The entire surface of 3 worlds turned into burning hellscapes. Vacuum pulled what was left into space. The ships in orbit had no time to react. The shockwaves hit them like hammers. Debris moving at incredible speeds punctured hulls. Radiation flooded their systems. Of 45 warships, only 7 survived. They jumped away damaged and broken. Commander was not among the survivors. His flagship took a direct hit from debris that included half a government building. The hull breached. Atmosphere escaped. The crew died in seconds. News of the attack reached the Galactic Council within hours. The chamber filled with shocked representatives. Ambassador Lisa stood before them again. This time she did not look sad. She looked satisfied. "What have you done?" the council chairman demanded. "This is a massacre, a war crime. You destroyed surrendered territory. You used weapons of mass destruction. You violated every rule of the convention." "Humanity never signed the convention," Lisa said calmly. "We have no obligation to follow rules that failed to protect our people. The wanted war. We gave them war." "This is barbarism," a council member said. The insect-like being clicked its mandibles in distress. "Civilized species do not fight this way. Civilized species do not massacre 35,000 civilians and call it legal," Lisa said. Her voice grew harder. "You made the rules, followed them. Our people died. Now we fight without your rules. If the convention will not protect us, we will protect ourselves." "You cannot just ignore galactic law," another representative said. "Watch us," Lisa said. She pulled up a display showing Earth's military capabilities. "We have more devices ready, more colonies evacuated, more traps set. They can surrender now and pay reparations for New Haven, or they can continue this war and learn exactly how brutal humans can be when we stop being civilized." The council erupted in arguments. Some species demanded immediate sanctions against Earth. Others pointed out that humanity had a legitimate grievance. A few quietly admitted that the convention had failed to account for species diversity. The debate raged for hours. The government sent an emergency representative. This one was not military. She was a civilian diplomat named. She looked frightened. "The Empire wishes to know Earth's terms for peace," she said. "Unconditional surrender," Lisa said. "Full reparations for New Haven, disarmament of your military, and a public acknowledgement that what you did was wrong, regardless of whether it was legal." "Those terms are too harsh," said. "Then the war continues," Lisa said. "And next time we will not blow up empty colonies. Next time we might visit ask yourself if the convention will protect you when we stop following any rules at all." The threat hung in the air. Every species in the council understood what Lisa was saying. Humanity had just proven that conventional warfare meant nothing if one side refused to play by the rules. They had superior technology, better ships, more soldiers. None of it mattered if humans fought dirty. Lisa left the council chamber without waiting for dismissal. She sent a message to Earth. The message was simple: they know we are serious now. On Earth, President Helen Martinez read the message. She sat in her office with General and Admiral Richard Cole. "They will not surrender yet," she said. "They still think they can win a traditional war." "Let them think that," said. "Every day they wait, we prepare more surprises." "The galaxy will hate us for this," Admiral Cole said. "They will call us monsters." "They called New Haven a legal military action," the president said. "They can call us whatever they want. Our people will be alive." The Empire mobilized for full war. They pulled fleets from across their territory. They conscripted more soldiers. They swore oaths of vengeance for their fallen commander. The Empire had never lost to a weaker species. They would not start now. But something had changed in the galaxy. Small species that suffered under the convention watched Earth with new interest. The who had lost colonies to legal conquest. The who lacked the military strength to defend themselves. The whose slow biology made them vulnerable to one-hour ultimatums. These species sent quiet messages to Earth. Not official, not through the council, secret communications that asked careful questions. How did you do it? How did you fight without rules? Could you teach us? Commander Gray received these messages. She brought them to Colonel Stephen Boyd. "We have made ourselves into something the galaxy fears," she said, "but also something they need." "Good," Stephen said. "Fear keeps enemies away. Need brings allies close. We can use both." On the frontier, Captain Mason and his team prepared for the next phase. They had proven that humans could strike hard and disappear. Now they needed to prove they could sustain a real war. They were coming with everything they had. Looked at his soldiers. Young men and women who trained to fight without honor. Who learned to use any weapon. Who accepted that victory mattered more than glory. "They think we got lucky," told them. "They think we won one battle with tricks. They are about to learn that humanity has been fighting without rules since before we had written language. We are very good at it." The team checked their weapons. They reviewed their targets. They prepared for missions that would make history books uncomfortable. Wars were supposed to be clean, honorable, fought between military forces with respect and dignity. The Armada assembled at the edge of their territory, 200 warships, the largest fleet the Empire had ever gathered. The new commander was a veteran of 30 campaigns. He stood on the bridge of his flagship and studied tactical displays showing Earth's core systems. "The humans fight like cowards," told his officers. "They hide, they use tricks, but they cannot hide from this fleet. We will crush them with overwhelming force. We will show the galaxy that the Empire does not fear barbarians." The fleet moved out in perfect formation. Each ship maintained proper distance and communication protocols. Scouts flew ahead. Support vessels protected the flanks. Everything followed military doctrine refined over centuries. They expected either human surrender or a conventional defense. They prepared for both. Human colonies in the fleet's path went silent. Communication stopped. Ships disappeared. They interpreted this as evacuation. They were partially correct. The colonies were evacuating, but not everyone left. Captain Mason commanded Earth's unconventional fleet from a ship that barely qualified as military. It was a converted mining vessel. Ugly, slow, armed with weapons stripped from 3 different species. The crew of 20 could operate everything, but just barely. It was exactly the kind of ship that would ignore. "They are entering the Deneb system," his communications officer said. Lieutenant Amy Foster monitored channels. "Maintaining standard formation, no deviation from doctrine." "Good," said. That makes them predictable. Launch the false signals. Small automated ships drifted into the fleet's path. Each one broadcast civilian distress signals, families trapped on damaged vessels, medical emergencies, technical failures. The signals followed proper formats. They included identification codes. Everything looked legitimate. The fleet followed protocol. When a civilian vessel needed help, military ships were required to investigate and render aid. The convention was very clear on this rule. Ordered 3 cruisers to check the distress signals. The cruisers approached the drifting ships. They scanned for life signs. They prepared rescue operations. The civilian vessels waited until the ships were close. Then they detonated. Antimatter bombs erased all 3 cruisers instantly. The explosions sent debris into the rest of the fleet. 2 more ships took critical damage from impacts. Watched his tactical display flash red. "Withdraw to safe distance," he ordered. All vessels perform full scans of any unknown objects. But there were thousands of objects in space. Asteroids, old satellites, debris from previous battles that could not scan everything, and humans had seeded the region with more surprises. Fleets struck while they were distracted. Small, fast attack ships came from every direction. They used captured identification codes to get close before firing. They targeted engines and life support instead of weapons or shields. They hit and ran before the enemy could respond effectively. "Focus on their support ships," ordered. "No honor, no fair fights. Kill their supply lines and medical vessels." Lieutenant Amy Foster commanded a squadron of 15 attack craft. Her ships moved like insects, darting between larger vessels. They found a medical ship marked with protection symbols under the convention. Amy did not care about the convention anymore. "Target engines and jump drive," she told her squadron. "Make them drift." The attack destroyed the medical ship's ability to move. Wounded aboard would die without treatment. The ship sent emergency signals asking for help. Amy's squadron ignored them and moved to the next target. Commander realized he was not fighting a fleet. He was fighting ghosts. The human ships appeared on sensors one moment and vanished the next. They used civilian codes. They attacked from behind asteroids. They targeted ships that should be protected under warfare laws. Nothing made sense. "They have no honor," one of his officers said. "Honor does not matter if we are dead," said. "Adapt to their tactics, protect the supply ships, assume every signal is a trap." But the damage was done. The fleet had lost 12 ships without ever engaging in proper battle. The remaining ships formed defensive positions. They scanned constantly. They fired at anything that moved. Fuel and ammunition started running low. While the fleet struggled, Major Chris Palmer ran psychological operations from Earth. He commanded a team that did nothing but broadcast on frequencies. Every channel, every frequency, constant messages. The broadcasts showed footage of dead soldiers, bodies floating in space, ships burning. The images were real, taken from the destroyed fleets. The narration was worse. Human voices described in detail what they would do to captured. Most of it was lies, some of it was true, none of it was comforting. "They know we are coming," the voices said and translated. "They know we will show no mercy. They know the convention will not protect them. They will die slowly in the cold dark. They will never see home again." The broadcasts never stopped. Communications officers tried to block them. They changed frequencies. They used encryption. Nothing worked. The human signals found them, always. Chris also released propaganda videos. They showed Earth's massive reserves of soldiers, training facilities full of humans learning to fight, weapons factories producing bombs. Each video ended with the same message. Earth has billions of soldiers. Earth will never stop. Earth does not follow rules. Most of the videos were fake or exaggerated. Earth did not have billions of combat soldiers, but they could not tell what was real. Fear started spreading through their fleet. Worse than the propaganda were the real tactics humans used. Suicide attacks. Ships would burn toward vessels at full speed and detonate when close. The pilots always broadcast final messages. They described why they were dying, for New Haven, for the 35,000, for a galaxy that would not protect them. Soldiers started seeing humans as insane. What species threw away lives like this? What kind of war was this? Commander sent increasingly desperate messages to the Galactic Council. He described the human tactics in detail. False distress signals, attacks on medical vessels, suicide strikes. Psychological torture through constant broadcasts. He asked for intervention. He asked for rules to be enforced. He asked for someone to make the humans stop. The council debated. Some species demanded Earth be declared a rogue nation. Others pointed out that humanity had never agreed to the convention. A few asked uncomfortable questions about why the rules failed to protect species like humans in the first place. Ambassador Lisa attended the session. She listened to complaints. She watched the council members argue. When they finally asked her to respond, she stood calmly. "Commander is upset that we do not fight fair," she said. "He wants the council to force us to follow rules that got 35,000 of our people killed. He wants protection from the same convention that gave him legal permission to commit massacre. The answer is no." "You are targeting medical vessels," the council chairman said. "This violates the most basic principles of warfare." "They gave our hospitals 1 hour to evacuate," Lisa said. "Your principles did not save those patients. Why should we honor principles that mean nothing?" "Because without rules, war becomes pure slaughter," another council member said. "War was always slaughter," Lisa said. "You just had rules that made it comfortable for the strong. They can end this war any time. Surrender, pay reparations, acknowledge their crime. Until then, we fight with every method available." She left without waiting for permission. The council continued debating but took no action. They could not agree on what to do about humanity. Some species quietly agreed with Earth. Others feared the precedent. The galaxy had operated under the convention for 1,000 years. Humans were breaking that system. No one knew what came next. Back with the fleet, Commander faced a choice. Continue toward Earth and fight an enemy that refused to engage properly, or withdraw and face humiliation. His fleet was scattered, supply lines cut, soldiers afraid. The humans had not destroyed his fleet, but they had broken its spirit. "Prepare to withdraw to defensive positions," he ordered finally. "We will regroup and request reinforcements." Mason watched the fleet begin its retreat. He did not celebrate. This was just one battle. The war would continue. But Earth had proven something important. Superior technology meant nothing if the enemy refused to stand still and fight fair. "Should we pursue?" Lieutenant Amy Foster asked. "No," said. "Let them run, let them tell stories. The more they fear us, the fewer of them will volunteer for the next fleet." The psychological damage was the point. Every soldier who survived would tell others about the humans, about the ships that appeared from nowhere, about the constant broadcasts, about the soldiers who died smiling. Fear would spread faster than any weapon. On Earth, General reviewed battle reports. The tactics were working. Humanity had lost ships and lives, but far fewer than conventional warfare would cost. They were learning that rules only mattered when both sides followed them. "The galaxy thinks we are monsters now," Admiral Richard Cole said. "The galaxy thought we were weak before," replied. "I prefer monster to victim." "What happens when we win?" Richard asked. "When they finally surrender, what kind of peace can we have after fighting like this?" "A peace where no one massacres human colonies," said. "A peace built on respect earned through violence, since they would not give us respect through law. The galaxy will remember that humans do not fight fair. They will remember that we win anyway." The Empire mobilized more fleets. They swore vengeance. They promised to restore honor. But in the barracks and on the ships, soldiers whispered. They told stories about humans who did not die easily, who fought without mercy, who turned every rule into a weapon. The Empire held an emergency war council. Military commanders filled the Great Hall on there. They had lost ships, lost soldiers, lost respect. Worst of all, they had lost certainty. The humans fought in ways that made victory feel impossible. "We cannot win if we cannot engage the enemy properly," one general said. "They refuse to stand and fight. They hide and strike from shadows. This is not warfare. This is terrorism." "Then we change our strategy," the war minister said. She was old and from many battles. "The humans hide behind distance, behind scattered colonies. We remove their advantage. We strike at Earth itself." The room fell silent. Attacking was serious. Even under the convention, such actions required careful justification. But the minister continued. "Earth is their center, their heart. Threaten it, and they must defend it. Force them into conventional battle where our superior numbers and technology matter. Show them that tricks and cowardice cannot protect their families." Commander stood. His last battle had cost him ships and reputation. He wanted revenge. I will lead the assault personally, he said. Give me the remaining fleet, 150 capital ships. We will burn Earth's cities to ash. The Council approved the plan. The Galactic Council received formal notice that the Empire would execute a legal strike against humanities. Some species objected. Others said nothing. The convention allowed such attacks if proper warnings were given. They were following the rules again. On Earth, alarms sounded in military command. Generals studied the intelligence reports. A massive fleet was moving toward Sol system, not scattered forces, not a patrol, everything they had left. They are coming for Earth, he told President Helen Martinez. 150 warships, they will arrive in 6 days. The president looked at tactical displays. Earth had maybe 40 ships capable of fleet combat. The math was simple and brutal. Can we win a conventional defense? She asked. No, Admiral Richard Cole said. Not in open battle. They have too many ships, too much firepower. If we meet them fleet to fleet, we lose. Then we do not meet them fleet to fleet, General said. We have been preparing for this. Stephen, is everything ready? Colonel Stephen Boyd brought up new displays. They showed the Sol system filled with markers, thousands of them. We have turned our home system into the largest trap in galactic history, he said. They expect a fleet defense. We will give them something else entirely. The plan was simple in concept, complicated in execution. Earth would not mass its fleet to defend. Instead, the Sol system had been seeded with weapons, nuclear mines disguised as space debris, laser platforms hidden in asteroid fields, missile batteries built into old satellites, civilian stations converted to weapons platforms. Nothing was marked. Nothing followed any rules about identifying military assets. We are turning our entire home into a weapon, Commander Gray explained. Every piece of junk floating in our system might be a bomb that will not know what is dangerous until it explodes. This violates every convention rule about civilian and military separation, the president said. Yes, Stephen said simply, but we stopped following those rules when they failed to protect New Haven. The wanted total war. We will show them what that means. The work began immediately. Thousands of hidden weapons activated and went silent, waiting. Civilian miners moved military-grade explosives into orbital positions. Science stations became missile launchers. Even the moon held surprises. Humanity spent 6 days turning its home system into a kill zone. Captain Mason received new orders. His mission was not to fight the fleet. His mission was to reach the command ship during the chaos and eliminate its leadership. He assembled a team of 30 soldiers. Each one volunteered for what was likely a suicide mission. We get one chance, told them. The fleet will enter the system in formation. When the ambush starts, there will be confusion. We use experimental warp drives to punch through their defenses. Our target is Commander's flagship. We ram it. The antimatter cores will do the rest. Lieutenant Amy Foster checked her ship systems. The vessel was small and fast, built for exactly one purpose. How likely are we to survive? She asked. Unlikely, said honestly. But if we take out their command structure, the fleet breaks. Earth survives. That is worth the cost. The 6 days passed quickly. The fleet entered the Sol system right on schedule. Commander studied his sensors from the bridge of his massive flagship. He saw Earth, humanities, blue and green and beautiful. He saw the moon, Mars in the distance, but he did not see a defending fleet. Where are their ships? His tactical officer asked. Hiding, said, or running. Scan for any military vessels. They cannot have evacuated their entire fleet. The armada moved forward in perfect formation. 150 ships advancing toward Earth. They scanned constantly. They found nothing threatening. No fleet, no obvious defenses, just a system full of orbital infrastructure and space debris, normal for any developed world. They crossed the orbit of Mars, still nothing, started feeling uneasy. This felt wrong. The humans had fought viciously for months. Why would they abandon there without resistance? Full defensive scan, he ordered. Check every object larger than a shuttle. The humans are planning something. But there were millions of objects in the Sol system. Old satellites, mining debris, asteroid fragments, ships under construction, cargo containers. The sensors showed everything but could not identify threats. It all looked civilian. The first mines detonated when the fleet reached the middle of the system. Nuclear explosions erupted throughout the formation. What looked like debris were actually bombs. They had been drifting in stable orbits for days, cold and quiet, waiting. 20 ships died in the first wave of detonations. The formation shattered as captains took evasive action. Then the second wave hit. Laser platforms emerged from asteroids that had been scanned and cleared. They were hidden too well, built into the rock itself. The beams cut through shields and hulls. Missile batteries activated next. Thousands of them. They launched from what had been marked as civilian stations, from satellites, from cargo containers that opened to reveal weapons. The missiles filled space, each one tracking a ship. Return fire screamed. Destroy everything in range. But what should they fire at? The weapons came from everywhere. Civilian structures that were not civilian, debris that was not debris. The ships fired wildly, destroying actual civilian installations along with hidden weapons. They could not tell the difference. The Earth fleet appeared now, 40 ships coming from behind the moon where they had hidden in sensor shadow. They did not engage conventionally. They fired at long range and immediately broke formation, scattering to avoid counterfire. More harassment, more strikes from unexpected angles. The fleet tried to reform but could not. Mines kept exploding. Hidden weapons kept firing. The human ships kept hitting and running. Space around Earth became chaos. Commander tried to regain control. All ships focus on Earth itself, he ordered. Ignore the attacks, break through to the planet, force them to defend or watch their burn. Some ships managed to push toward Earth, but even that was a trap. The moon launched its surprise, massive built into lunar mining facilities. They fired tungsten rods at relativistic speeds. Several cruisers simply vanished as the projectiles punched through them. In the middle of this nightmare, Captain Mason's team made their move. 10 small ships with experimental drives. They powered up and jumped impossible distances. Standard warp drives needed time to calculate. These drives were unstable but instant. Each ship materialized inside the formation. Target the flagship, ordered. Maximum speed, do not stop. Lieutenant Amy Foster pushed her engines to the limit. She aimed directly at Commander's vessel. Point defense systems fired at her. Laser cut through her shields. Hull plating burned away. She kept accelerating. "This is for New Haven," she whispered. Her ship hit the flagship's command tower at Point 3. The antimatter core breached on impact. The explosion tore the flagship in half. Commander had 1 second to understand that he had lost before the blast wave reached him. 7 more human ships struck other targets. Not all hit command vessels, but each one destroyed something important. The fleet broke. Without clear leadership and under constant attack from weapons hidden throughout the system, captains made independent decisions. Most of those decisions involved running. Ships jumped away in random directions. Some collided with hidden mines while trying to escape. Others took damage from their own fleet's wild firing. Of 150 ships that entered the Sol system, only 43 escaped. The rest were destroyed or crippled beyond repair. The survivors jumped to random coordinates, desperate to get away from the death trap Earth had created. President Helen Martinez watched from command bunker. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, space around Earth was filled with debris and bodies. Some were human. The civilian stations that had been weaponized were destroyed. The cost was high. "Open a channel to the government," she ordered. "All frequencies, I want everyone to hear this." The channel opened. The president spoke clearly. "The Empire attacked with everything they had. They lost. We have vessels with antimatter weapons heading toward your right now. They use the same tactics you used on us. Hidden, without warning, without mercy. You have 1 hour by our calculation to order all military forces to stand down and begin surrender negotiations. Unlike you, we will actually give you enough time to comply." She paused, let the words sink in. "If you refuse, we will do to you exactly what you did to New Haven. We will follow your rules. We will give you 1 hour. We will burn your cities, and the Galactic Council will call it legal. Choose quickly." The broadcast ended. Panic spread. The government convened emergency meetings. Military commanders argued for continued resistance. Civilian leaders saw the tactical displays showing how badly their fleet had been destroyed. They understood the choice was between surrender or extinction. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. Earth had won, not through superior technology, not through more ships, through willingness to fight absolutely without restriction, through turning every rule and expectation into a weapon, through making their own home system into a battlefield. Ambassador Lisa sat in her quarters aboard the station. She received messages from dozens of species. Some called humanity monsters, others called them brilliant, a few called them necessary. She did not care about any of those opinions. She cared that humanity would never be massacred under legal protection again. The government deliberated for 30 minutes. Military commanders wanted to fight on. They spoke of honor and empire and refusing to bow to barbarians. The civilian council silenced them with numbers. 150 ships sent to Earth. Fewer than 50 survived. Earth's threat to attack there was not empty. The humans had proven they would do exactly what they promised. At minute 31, they issued an empire-wide stand-down order. All military forces were to cease operations immediately. The government requested formal surrender negotiations. They asked for terms. They asked for mercy. President Helen Martinez did not give them mercy. She gave them justice. 3 weeks later, a neutral station hosted the surrender ceremony. They sent their new diplomatic chancellor. She was young and had opposed the war from the beginning. Now she carried the weight of her empire's mistakes. Admiral Richard Cole represented Earth. Generals stood beside him. So did Colonel Stephen Boyd. They were the ones who planned the victory. They would witness the surrender. The terms were harsh. Earth demanded full reparations for New Haven, every credit spent on rebuilding, every life valued and compensated. The amount would cripple the economy for decades. They agreed. Earth demanded military disarmament. The fleet would be reduced to defensive forces only. No more expansion, no more conquest. Monitors from neutral species would enforce compliance. They agreed. Earth demanded territory concessions. Colonies that had taken from weaker species would be returned. Reparations paid to those species as well. The empire would shrink back to its core worlds. They agreed. But the final term was what hurt most. The government had to issue a public statement, not a diplomatic apology, a clear acknowledgement that their attack on New Haven was morally wrong regardless of whether it was legal under the convention. They had to admit that following the rules did not make the massacre acceptable. They had to say it before the entire Galactic Council. Chancellor stood before the cameras and representatives from 200 species. Her voice shook. The Empire acknowledges that our actions at New Haven were genocide disguised as legal warfare. We murdered 35,000 civilians. We hid behind rules that protected our cruelty. We were wrong. No law can justify what we did. We accept responsibility. We ask forgiveness we do not deserve. The speech was broadcast across the galaxy. Some species saw it as humiliation. Others saw it as necessary. Earth saw it as the beginning of real accountability. Back on Earth, reconstruction began at New Haven Colony. Director Greg had died in the bombardment. His assistant, Corinne Wells, took over the rebuilding effort. Survivors returned to their world. They found ruins and memorials. Commander Gray oversaw the military presence. She made sure the colony would never be vulnerable again. The memorial for the dead stood at the center of the rebuilt capital. 35,000 names carved in black stone. Each name included age and relationship. Daughter, father, grandfather, teacher, doctor, child. The names showed that these were not soldiers, they were families. At the top of the memorial, a simple inscription read, "They died following rules meant to protect them." Below that, another line, "Never again." And at the base, one more phrase, "We fight on our terms now." The Galactic Council underwent dramatic changes. Ambassador Lisa proposed amendments to the Convention of Warfare. Her proposals focused on protecting species with different physiologies. No more universal deadlines. No more assuming all species could move or react at the same speed. Requirements for genuine evacuation time based on each species' actual capabilities. Many species resisted. The convention had existed for 1,000 years. Changing it meant admitting it had failed. But other species supported the changes. Small species, slow species, species who had suffered under rules designed by the strong. The debates lasted months. Council sessions grew heated. Some species threatened to leave if changes passed. Others threatened to leave if changes failed. Eventually, a compromise emerged. Species could choose to follow the convention or operate outside it. But choosing to operate outside meant accepting that others might fight them without restrictions too. It was not a perfect solution, but it was honest. The galaxy's comfortable lie about civilized warfare was broken. Now everyone had to decide what they truly valued, real protection or familiar rules. Several species approached Earth privately. They came first. They were small and had lost colonies to legal conquest just like New Haven. Their ambassador met with Colonel Stephen Boyd in a secure facility. "We want to learn how you fight," the ambassador said. "How you survive against larger enemies, how you turn weakness into strength. Will you teach us?" Stephen considered the request. Teaching other species human tactics meant spreading Earth's methods. It meant more wars fought without rules, but it also meant giving weaker species a chance to survive. "We will teach you," he said. "But understand what you are asking. This is not honorable combat. This is survival warfare. It will change you." "We are already changed," the ambassador said. "We watched our colonies burn under legal protection. We are done being civilized if civilized means defenseless." The came next, then others, small species who realized the convention had never protected them. They wanted to learn human methods. Earth became a reluctant military power. Captain Mason trained foreign soldiers. Lieutenant Amy Foster, who survived her mission, helped design tactics for species with different biologies. It was strange work, teaching aliens to fight like humans, teaching them to ignore honor and focus on victory, teaching them that rules only mattered when both sides agreed. But every species they trained was one less victim of legal massacre. The galaxy divided into camps, traditional powers who clung to the convention, newer alliances who embraced unrestricted warfare, neutral species who tried to maintain peace between both sides. The division was not complete war, but it was tense. The comfortable order of 1,000 years was gone. President Helen Martinez gave a speech to the Galactic Council 6 months after the war ended. She stood where Ambassador Lisa usually stood. She looked at the assembled representatives and spoke truth they did not want to hear. "Earth did not want to fight without rules," she said. "We would have preferred a galaxy where warfare followed fair guidelines, where the strong protected the weak, where law meant justice. But that galaxy did not exist. Your convention protected the powerful and called it civilization. You allowed massacre and called it legal." She pulled up images of New Haven, burning cities, dead children. The council members looked away, but she made them watch. "Until your laws actually protect the vulnerable, humanity will fight on its own terms. We will honor fair agreements. We will seek peace. But we will never again let rules be used as weapons against our people." "You have made the galaxy more brutal," one council member said, the insect-like being clicked its mandibles in distress. "You have destroyed centuries of progress towards civilized warfare." "We revealed that your civilization was a lie," Helen said. "The galaxy was always brutal. You just had rules that let you pretend otherwise. They followed every rule and murdered 35,000 civilians. Your civilization allowed that. We simply stopped pretending your rules were anything but convenience for the strong." She left the council chamber without waiting for dismissal. Earth had made its position clear. The galaxy could adapt or not. Humanity would survive either way. General met with a diplomat a week later. They were an old species. They had helped write the original convention. The diplomat expressed concerns about Earth's influence. "You have made the galaxy less civilized," the diplomat said. "Species now fight without honor, without mercy, without rules. Is this the future you want?" "We did not make the galaxy this way," said. "We revealed what it already was. Your convention worked well for species like yours, large, fast, strong. It worked terribly for species like humans, smaller, slower, different. You created a system that favored yourselves and called it fair." "But now there are no limits," the diplomat said. "Wars will be bloodier, more destructive." "Wars were always bloody and destructive," said. "You just had rules that made you feel better about the violence. New Haven was destroyed completely. Every rule followed, every protocol met, and 35,000 people died. Tell me how your civilization prevented that." The diplomat had no answer, continued. "Earth did not make the galaxy brutal. The galaxy was always brutal. We just stopped pretending otherwise. If that makes you uncomfortable, then write better rules. Rules that actually protect everyone. Until then, humanity will fight to survive, and we will win." The conversation ended there. They went back to their government with uncomfortable truths. Earth had broken their comfortable system. Many species would never forgive that, but many other species were grateful. On New Haven, the colony flourished again. Population returned to 40,000. New buildings rose where old ones had burned. Children went to school. Farmers worked the fields. Life continued. But everyone remembered. The memorial stood at the center of town. Every day, people passed those 35,000 names. Karen Wells, the new colony director, made a rule. Every school student would visit the memorial once a year. They would read names. They would learn what happened. They would understand why Earth fought the way it did. The children needed to remember, needed to know that peace was fragile, that rules only protected those who were strong enough to enforce them. Admiral Richard Cole retired from military service a year after the war. He had commanded Earth's fleets through the conflict. He had planned battles that violated every rule of warfare. He was celebrated as a hero. He felt like something else. In his final speech, he said something that made people uncomfortable. "We won the war, we saved Earth, but we paid a price that has nothing to do with ships or lives. We became what we needed to be to survive, ruthless, brutal, willing to do anything. That does not go away when the war ends. Humanity is changed. We are no longer the species that trusted in galactic law. We are the species that broke every law to survive. Remember that. Remember what we were and what we became." His words haunted people. Earth was safe. They were defeated. New Haven was rebuilding. By every measure, humanity had won. But winning had required becoming something darker, something that did not follow rules or honor limits. The galaxy feared Earth now. Some respected them. Many hated them. But no one would massacre human colonies and call it legal anymore. That was worth the price. At least that was what people told themselves. Late at night, when Admiral Cole could not sleep, he wondered if it was true. He wondered if humanity had won or simply survived, and whether there was a difference anymore. The final image of the war was simple. The memorial on New Haven under two suns, 35,000 names in stone, and at the base, words that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. Never again. We fight on our terms now. The galaxy had learned that humans remembered their dead. They honored their fallen, and they would do absolutely anything to prevent more names being added to that stone. The lesson was written in nuclear fire and broken fleets, written in tactics that ignored every rule, written in the willingness to fight without limits when limits meant death. Earth had answered the massacre with a promise, never again, and the galaxy believed them. On Earth, people watched the sky. They saw the debris burning up in the atmosphere. They knew ships full of their own people had died up there, but Earth was safe. They had learned their lesson. The war was almost over, but the galaxy would never be the same. The war was far from over, but the galaxy was learning a lesson. Civilized warfare only worked when everyone agreed to be civilized. Humanity had stopped agreeing, and humans had a very long memory for the wars they fought before they reached the stars. Wars without rules, wars where survival mattered more than honor. They were about to get a complete education in human military history. It was going to be a painful lesson. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy that war had never been any of those things. War was brutal, ugly, desperate, and humans remembered how to fight that kind of war better than any species that had enjoyed the convention's protection for 1,000 years. They wanted to teach Earth about civilized warfare. Earth was about to give them a history lesson instead. Without rules, without mercy, the Empire had wanted to teach humanity about civilized warfare. They were about to learn that humans remembered every brutal lesson from their own bloody history, and they were very good students.